All right, stop talking. Okay, our essential question for today is, what is the rate of change and how is it represented? So our scenario says, suppose you have a job walking your neighbor's dog. You get paid a rate of $6.50 per hour, and we want to complete the table to show your earnings for the number of hours worked. So if you don't work, you don't get paid. 0 hours worked, 0 total dollars. If you only work 1 hour, you get paid $6.50. If you work 2 hours, how much do you get paid? $13. Or 2 times $6.50. If you work 3 hours, what do you get paid? $19.50. 3 times 6.5. If you work 4 hours, what do you get paid? 4 times 6.5. And 5 hours? 5 times 6.5. And 6 hours? That's a lot of dog walking. Alright, question number 1 says, how does the total amount you earn relate to the total number of hours you work? Think first, write down your answer. Braxton, how does the total amount you earn relate to the total number of hours you work?
I don't know.
Good, Ashar. Ahmed. God, I always do that. The more you walk, the more you make. And could you tell me exactly how much I'm going to make based on the number of hours?
Yes.
How would you know? All right, Micah, how would I know? If I worked X amount of hours, how much money would I earn?
X times 6.
Okay, so the total amount is 6.5 times how many hours we work. Yeah. Okay, the independent and dependent variable. Independent is something you change. Dependent is something that happens as a result of changing the independent variable. Does anyone have an idea on what they would be, Nicholas? Okay, so our independent variable is number of hours. And the result is the total amount earned. Okay? Number 3 says, write an equation in y equals mx format that relates the total number of hours, total amount earned, and the number of hours worked. So, our total amount is t, and our total number of hours is h, or we could also use y for the total amount earned, and x for the total number of hours. So, t equals what times h? The total amount, t, is 6.5 times how many hours do you work, h. What should go in this blank? 6.5. Total amount equals 6.5 times h. That's the same thing as y equals 6.5 times x. So y or t is our dependent variable. It depends on what we plug in for x or h. This y equals 6.5x is used for graphing because we have our x and y axis. But we could also call this our h and t axis and graph it like that. Okay, so this is a graph. It shows that every hour your total earnings increase by 6.5. What would the rate of change be in this scenario? Okay, in other words, how does your earnings change per hour? By 6.5. So our rate of change is 6.5. On your own, try to come up with a definition for rate of change. So if our rate of change is 6.5, what would you use to describe rate of change? Okay, and does someone want to share their definition? Ahmed?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The rate of change is your dependent because the more you change your independent, the more your rate of change changes.
Okay. One thing I would change about that, our independent and dependent are only the variables, but our rate of change does help change what the dependent variable is, or what it's going to end up being. Does someone else want to share? Okay, Micah.
If it was 2 hours and 30 minutes, would you just cut in half 6 hours and 50 cents?
Yeah. No one wants to share a definition for rate of change? Okay, Beatrice, what'd you get? Okay. How much your total amount changes by? What I would add to that is over a certain period of time. So it's what's being changed over time. So every hour we earn $6.50, and that's what's changing over time. So if you would like to add or modify your definition, I said the speed at which a variable changes over a specific period of time. So if we look at our graph, this rate of change is constant. Every single hour it goes up by the same amount. And linear equations always have a constant rate of change. They always increase by the same amount every step. All right, can I change it? Okay. All right, the next one says, now suppose that your neighbor pays you $20 as a bonus before you start your job walking the dog. How does the data in the table change? So, if you don't work, you just show up to the house, they'll give you your $20. And then every hour you actually walk the dog, you get paid $6.50 more. Okay, so fill out the table with the total amount earned. Remember, every hour you earn $6.50 more. Okay, and we had the same rate of change every hour. It's going up by $6.50. But you also get paid a bonus of $20. So, to find our total amount, we'll do $6.50 times however many hours they work that day, and then we'll add on the $20 bonus. In y equals mx plus b format, which should look familiar from when we were finding the slope and the y-intercept yesterday, we would have y equals 650x plus 20. All right, what's our rate of change here? Okay. Not 6.5 plus 20, just the rate of change. Okay, and in this equation, m is slope. B is the y-intercept. So, in this equation, what is our rate of change represented by? (6.5), which stands for what? The slope. So our rate of change is the slope. So our slope tells us how much our equation is changing by over time. So every interval is changed by the same amount. Alright, this bottom one, do this with a partner. So read the scenario, fill out the table, make a graph, make sure you label your axes and write an equation. Do with someone at your table. When you finish that, write a summary. What is the rate of change? And it answers the essential question, what is the rate of change and how is it represented? So summarize rate of change at the bottom. I'll give you guys 5 minutes.